These are the most evil punishments in the world, going from nasty to evil to absolutely diabolical. Rat cell. The rat cell punishment is common in Myanmar and Cambodia. Prisoners are put in small cells infested with rats. The rats are normally starved to make them more aggressive towards the inmates. In some cases, inmates are even tied up, making them unable to fend off the rats. The rodents crawl all over the prisoner, biting and scratching. This can cause injuries and infections. Prisoners may be left in the cells for days or weeks. While in the rat cell, prisoners may be denied food and water. The rat cells also have no beds, meaning the inmates have to sleep on the floor, fully exposed to the rats. This not only harms inmates physically, but psychologically too, having the sight and sound of rats at all times. The constant movement and noise of rats can also cause sleep deprivation, and some who've experienced this report PTSD. Even when the inmates are allowed out of the rat cell, the punishment continues. They're often left with diseases, for example rat bite fever, leptospirosis, as well as infections. The rat cell is a violation of human rights, but in some countries with poor oversight, it happens anyway. Wardenburger. The Wardenburger is a punishment in the USA. Inmates who misbehave are kept in isolation and are given the same meal 3 times a day. Its name is the Wardenburger. It's made of ground turkey, oatmeal, cabbage, and other vegetables. These are all mixed together and then baked, which is then served between 2 slices of bread. It's designed to be borderline inedible. While in isolation, inmates are allowed to eat this and only this for 7 days. The Wardenburger is illegal in some states, but it's commonly used in Ohio and Texas. Sometimes leftover scraps from other meals are also used, and some accounts claim dirt and hair are also put in. Many people are outraged prisons do this, but one prison warden who was being criticized had this to say.
The State Department of Corrections is not my boss, so I basically don't give two what they think.
The Wardenburger looks absolutely awful. Unsurprisingly, some inmates in isolation refuse to eat this, but after a few days of extreme hunger, they often cave and eat it. Many say the Wardenburger is against human rights, but it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere anytime soon. White torture. White torture is common in Iran and Venezuela. It involves keeping an inmate in a totally white room. The walls and floors are all totally white. The inmates wear white clothing, and bright white lights are kept on 24/7. The cells are totally silent, and the guards wear rubber shoes to prevent noise. This may not sound too bad, but after days and weeks of this, inmates can be driven insane. It's a form of extreme sensory deprivation. There are no colors, no smells, and no visual or auditory stimulation. Inmates are denied clocks or natural light, meaning they lose the perception of time. Meals are given at irregular times, meaning inmates have no idea what the time is. After a few days, this can cause hallucinations, as well as intense loneliness, hopelessness, and anxiety, and survivors often have PTSD. One Iranian journalist named Amir Fakhravar was kept in one of these cells for months. He said the experience erased his identity and broke him mentally. The CIA have also done this at various black sites around the world, and political prisoners in Venezuela have reported the same thing. Of course, this is against human rights, which is why it only happens in countries with poor human rights. The hole. The hole is a common punishment in the USA and Russia. The hole is a tiny cell. Inmates are kept here for 24 hours per day, isolated from all human contact. The cells are typically 6 by 8 feet or smaller, and only have a metal bed, a toilet, and sometimes a small sink. Inmates are given a very thin blanket, but only at night. The lights are either left on constantly or are always turned off. The cells are uncomfortably cold or hot, and they're also soundproofed. Inmates may spend weeks, months, or even years in the hole. One man named Kalfani Malik Kaldan spent 20 years in the hole at a prison in Indiana, USA, describing it as a death chamber for the mind. Albert Woodfox spent 43 years in the hole at Louisiana's Angola prison, before finally being released in 2016. According to Albert, the hole breaks the human soul. Russian political prisoner Alexei Navalny was also kept in the hole. He was kept in the hole at the IK3 prison colony for years, which led to him passing away in 2024. Tiger chair. The tiger chair is a brutal punishment common in China. It's a steel chair with metal clamps, restraining a prisoner's arms, legs, and torso, with the position causing strain on muscles and joints. The tiger chair is used for punishments and also interrogations. Inmates sometimes have to sit in these for hours, days, or even weeks, without being allowed to move at all. This sometimes causes damage to muscles and nerves. Tiger chairs are sometimes used on people who have done very small crimes. For example, complaining about the police on social media. One lawyer named Tang Jishen was kept in a tiger chair for days, leading to injuries that left him unable to walk properly. People are sometimes interrogated in tiger chairs, often forced into admitting guilt for crimes they didn't do. The wild thing is, Chinese police don't even try to hide this, openly making videos showing off their tiger chairs. Standing cells. Standing cells are another very evil punishment from China. Inmates are confined to a narrow vertical space, where they can't sit or lie down. The cells are sometimes less than 2 feet in width. There is no ventilation or lighting, and they sometimes have to stand for days or weeks at a time. This causes immense pain in the legs, back and feet, and can even cause blood clots. Because the prisoners are unable to lie down, this can also cause sleep deprivation, as well as hallucinations, and in some cases mental breakdowns and PTSD. Survivors recount having permanent injuries, as well as mental trauma. Extreme temperatures. Extreme temperature punishment is used in the USA, Russia, and Egypt. Prisoners are put in poorly ventilated cells, where the temperature is either very hot or very cold. Sometimes powerful heat lamps are used. In desert prisons, inmates often have to stand outside in direct sunlight, causing dehydration and heat stroke. In Russia, inmates in Siberian prisons are often left in cold cells, or have to stand outside in the snow, where temperatures can drop to minus 50 degrees. This leads to hypothermia and frostbite. Black soap. Black soap punishment is common in Nigeria and Ghana. Inmates have to scrub themselves with a very coarse soap, causing skin irritation, burns, and rashes. Inmates often have to eat this black soap too, causing nausea and stomach damage. This punishment can sometimes lead to mental breakdowns and even PTSD. Spice punishment. Spice punishment is a rare punishment used in India. Prison guards have forced inmates to eat very spicy foods, or entire chili peppers. This causes pain in the mouth and nose, and can also lead to gastric ulcers, esophageal burns, and long-term digestive issues. Thankfully, cases of this are rare, and only happens in less regulated prisons in rural India. Sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is a common punishment used in Russia and China. Prisoners will be kept awake for days or weeks. If they fall asleep, they will be woken up within 1 hour, either using bright light shined into their cells or loud noises. This causes fatigue and exhaustion, as well as a weakened immune system. After a few days, inmates will experience hallucinations and paranoia, which can then lead to psychosis and mental breakdowns, sometimes causing inmates to admit to crimes they haven't done. While this is commonly used in Russia and China, the USA has also done this at Guantanamo Bay. Ghost punishment. Ghost punishment is a rare punishment from China. Inmates are made to dress in all white and remain absolutely still, resembling a ghost. All of this is done in solitary confinement, where the inmates are deprived of light, sound, and any human interaction. The aim is to dehumanize the inmate, as if they're already a ghost. They often have to do this for days or weeks, causing anxiety, desperation, and paranoia, causing psychological breakdown and PTSD. The punishment is most commonly used at China's re-education camps in Xinjiang. Sandbag punishment. Sandbag punishment is common in Thailand. Inmates are made to carry very heavy sandbags or bricks on their backs, often for hours at a time, causing severe physical strain. This is normally done during the hottest part of the day, causing severe dehydration and heat stroke. Sandbag punishment is intended to break the prisoner's spirit, as well as physically damage their body. Shackling. Shackling is another brutal punishment from Thailand. Inmates' arms or legs are put in metal chains. The shackles are then tethered to an object such as a heavy metal ball, or in some cases, a wall, pole, or even another inmate. This leads to cramps, circulation problems, and pain. In some cases, inmates are shackled outside in harsh weather, either in heavy rain or extreme heat. Long term, this can cause muscle atrophy and nerve damage, as well as severe psychological effects. Flogging. Flogging is a common punishment in Saudi Arabia, Iran, Sudan, and Indonesia. Prisoners are lashed with whips or canes. This is normally done in front of crowds, adding a public shaming element to the punishment. Inmates may receive anywhere from 100 to 1,000 lashes. The flogging can cause nerve damage and scarring, and can leave the prisoners with PTSD. Cages. Caging is a rare punishment from Vietnam, famously done at Phu Quoc Prison. The punishment involves inmates being in barbed wire cages, left outside in hot weather for days. These cages are sometimes put in water, causing the prisoners extra discomfort. Which of these punishments was the worst? Tell me in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and check out this video next. I think you'll find it even wilder than this one.